You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Gunner Kennels, OnX Hunt, NSTRA, and Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. And today you're listening to episode 91 with Ben Brettingen from OnX Hunt. I want to welcome and thank my newest sponsor, NSTRA, the National Shoot-Retrieve Association, for being a sponsor of this podcast. Super proud to be connected with NSTRA. It's been a field trial game I have loved for many years. NSTRA has been a premier walking field trial organization since 1978, with 31 regions across the continental U.S. and Canada, hosting over 800 trials per year. If you're looking for a fun, family-oriented field trial association or organization for you and your dog, NSTRA is the place to be. All pointing breeds are welcome, and NSTRA has a unique amateur program to help teach and coach new handlers as they get started in their field trial career. If you are looking to extend your hunting season, learn new things, and make new friends along the way, this is the place to be. Check out NSTRA.org, that's NSTRA.org, to find a region close to you and follow along on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I'm also proud to welcome Gunner Kennels as one of the newer sponsors of the podcast as well. Gunner Kennels, the best kennel on the market today. Man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. You know, I've tried every single kennel brand on the market, all the big brands, tried them all, personally used them, and Gunner Kennels is where I have landed. It is the safest, toughest kennel out there on the market. They have everything you need, from accessories, all-weather kits, food bowls, food crates, you name it. They're going to hook you up and make it last in the Gunner way. They over-engineer every single thing, and I love it. Check out gunnerkennels.com. I just picked up the new Food Crate 30. It is a perfect size for those quick weekend hunts, 3-4 day hunt, where you don't need to lug around the full food crate. So this Food Crate 30 is a really, really sweet deal. So check them out, gunner.com. You won't regret it. Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. Speaking of food crates with the Gunner segment, Inukshuk. You better take a full bag of Inukshuk and put it in that Food Crate 30 from Gunner. Perfect match. Inukshuk Pro, guys, it has been the best food I have fed my dogs. Again, I've tried I have not tried the food, but my dogs have. God, this went sideways. But Inukshuk, it's been a super high dense formula that I trust, I believe in. I've seen the results. I've seen my dogs on some other foods where I've needed to feed them a ton of food to keep their energy up and keep them going on those harder, longer hunts, early season, late season. Since switching to Inukshuk, I've never had an issue with my dogs' endurance on longer hunts, and it's just been a really high quality food. I love the company, run by really good people. So check out inukshukpro.com. My dogs are on the 26-16 right now in the summer, and as we roll into September, I will switch them back to the 30-25. Great formula, inukshukpro.com. OnX Hunt. If you don't have it downloaded on your phone right now, I would encourage you, hit pause, go download OnX, sign up for a subscription. Rookie 20 is going to save you 20% off your yearly membership to OnX Hunt. Guys, it is a necessity. It is no longer a tool that you might need to have. OnX Hunt, I believe, is a digital mapping software system that every hunter should have. Every hunter. Being able to carry that with you pre-season, during a hunt, to know exactly where you stand on public or private land, who owns what, where can you go, identifying different land types, crop types, tree species, you name it. OnX Hunt is just a necessity. I believe a necessity to every hunter, whether you're big game, waterfowl, upland. I think it really shines in the upland space, though, being able to hunt public land and know exactly where that land is. That was a big struggle for me getting into upland hunting, was just knowing where I could hunt. Well, since I started using OnX, it opened up a whole new world and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of publicly accessible land. So check out onxhunt.com. Get signed up as we head into season. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and coming to you from the old garage studio here in late July, and pumped to be back with you for another one. I got my buddy Ben Brettingen on from OnX Hunt today. We unpack a lot more, of course, about OnX Hunt, how to use the app, some new features coming down the pipeline that'll really help upland bird hunters. We also catch up on life. How's Ben been doing, his family, his dogs? Did he add a dog recently? We unpack that, a whole bunch more. And so I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation between Ben Brettingen and myself. Other than that, we have a cool giveaway happening over at patreon.com. Make sure you're signed up as a Patreon patron and be entered into the giveaway. We got a couple of the brand new Gunner bumpers. I got 4 of them here in my garage, and I'm going to be giving away 4 of those on the Patreon page to 4 people who are signed up as supporters. So if you're not signed up already, head over to patreon.com/ or might be backslash or /, I'm not sure. So one of the slashes, patreon.com, / the Upland Rookie Podcast. Become a supporter today, and I will pick 4 lucky winners and be sending you a Upland Rookie hat as well as the brand new Gunner bumper. Man, this bumper is super cool. It's super durable. I mean, everything Gunner puts out, whether it's the food crate, their kennels, their kennel mats, accessories, fan kits, all that stuff. You kind of know what you're going to get with Gunner. You kind of know the level of quality, the build, the engineering, all that good stuff. And Gunner has knocked it out of the park once again with a bumper. And so, there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a scent cavity in the middle. You can stuff feathers in for scent drags. It's high quality, has a really nice, I don't know what you call it, a toss strap. No, it doesn't sound right. They have the handle on the bumper, super comfortable. You can whip that thing pretty far. So overall, it's just a really, really well-designed bumper. Check them out. It's like $30 on gunner.com. Get over there, or if you want to try to win one, I got 4 of them, so you got 4 chances to win. Head over. $5 a month, patreon.com. Become a supporter today, and I'll draw some names. I'll give it a couple days. Today is Monday, the 31st of July. I will give it until like Friday. So Friday, before then, get signed up as a Patreon supporter. And I'll contact the winner and get those sent out to you. So check those out. Other than that, I mean, I think we're all looking forward to season right now. Been roading dogs on my bike. Always a highlight. I love the time with the dogs, getting them on the bike, getting them conditioned. And so I've been seeing quite a few of you out there as well, getting dogs on your bike, ATVs, just letting them run. I think that's awesome. It's super important to, I think, get dogs conditioned, conditioned well too, not just endurance, but their pads, their muscles, their joints, all the good stuff. And so keep that up. And I've been rocking the dogs. It just started raining right now, so I was going to go road them after I record this, but we'll see if the rain lets up because I don't want to bike a dog in the rain. It sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. So anyways, hey, we're going to keep this somewhat short and dive right into the interview. I know that's what you're here for, and so I hope you enjoy episode 91. Okay, got that. Save, and okay, cool. Man, I like your little shotgun collection behind you.
Oh yeah, I'm missing a few right now. I got a few set at work, but
oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice. Have you been shooting the? Did you get an Upland Gun Company last year?
I did. Yes,
okay.
I got the S. I think it's a SKS or something like that. The 20 gauge.
Side by side.
No, this guy right here.
Oh, over
under.
Sick.
So 20 gauge, got Annie on the bottom, so it's pretty cool. And then I've got another one that should come here any day now. I would think a 28 over under. So
oh, nice.
Yeah,
right on.
I don't know. Are you a crooked barrel guy, or are you like the stacked barrel?
I stack barrels.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've never I've never even shot a side by side.
Really?
I've held one, here and there, but I've never had the opportunity to shoot one yet. Would like to see what it's like, but I don't know. This is it different? Have you?
It is.
Yeah,
it's definitely different, and I don't know. Like after I shoot one long enough, like it's fine. I can shoot well with it, but it takes a little bit getting used to, especially like the double trigger thing. Like, can't
Oh
tell me how many
yeah.
times I pulled that front trigger, like what, like it's broken, and then it's like, oh no, it's not broken.
It's even with your like with again, I know it's a shotgun. You kind of just point and shoot, but it's gonna mess with your I don't know the lead time. I don't
The
know.
sight
Does it?
picture is different. Yeah, it did. Like the sight picture is just way different. So it definitely screws with you.
Yeah.
And I just mostly I like to make fun of people that shoot side by sides because I don't.
It's always fun to poke fun at something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
With the this is so dumb with the double trigger again. Never shot a double trigger. Do you have to so? And people can't see this on video, I know, but double
yeah,
trigger. So you pull the first one and then
yeah,
take your finger out and put it back in the second one.
pretty much. It
Dang.
ends up like the action ends up being like more of a slide. Like pull the front one and then your finger just kind of slides off and kind of slides to the second and
Okay.
slaps it. So it's yeah, it's not like a very distinct like pull, move,
Pull
pull.
out,
It's like
back in.
and, and really like you can like follow up shots like grouse hunting and stuff.
Yeah.
You can almost shoot. I would think the same speed as you would with a single trigger, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
but
That's
just
awesome.
takes used to get take some time to get used to. So
Yeah. So that so I know you're getting a 28 gauge Upland Gun Company. Is your first one you said a 20 or 28?
20, yep.
20. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I knew you were like a 20-ish kind of guy.
Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, because the 20 is just just a good over all around or not caliber gauge. I've been talking
Yeah.
too many rifles lately. Um, but yeah, so I wanted something I could grouse hunt with, pheasant hunt with, do whatever.
Yeah.
But after having this one, it's like the custom fit deal is it's a big deal. Like I didn't
Really?
realize it until you pull this one up and you're like, oh, I don't know if you got these bad swing thoughts in your head, like I'm not going to hit this one, and like all of a sudden you just start hitting more of them, shots that you wouldn't think you'd hit. So
Really? Wow.
I'm a believer. Yeah.
That's cool. Is it hard now? So once you've shot the custom fit for a while, is it hard now to go back to a traditional standard fit, or have you noticed any difference?
So I don't notice like anything. The thing is, I think you get used to, like there's some guns that you shoot long enough, you get used to just how they feel, right?
Mhm.
And your mind makes subliminal changes to your posture, your grip, your head position to make it work for itself, right?
Sure.
So actually it was a little bit of a learning curve shooting a custom fit gun,
Oh,
because you go up and mount your gun, and then when I got fit, he's like, you just mount your gun, acquire the target, and shoot. And otherwise like you get on the gun and you can't your head, or you push your face into it a little bit
yeah.
more, and that's your body correcting for it
Other
not fitting
things.
right. So it's like
Yeah.
you have to just even get more instinctual, where it's like pull up,
Wow.
see the target, shoot, and not try to make these little
Yeah.
corrections. So yeah.
Wow. And is that gun fitting process? Is that pretty? Is there any technology involved, like camera work, are they just watching you, seeing your kind of how you mount, your natural body movement, or what's that process like?
Yeah. So it's they use it's called a tri-gun, where essentially it's got adjustability, like the cast and the drop and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And and these guys a lot. Well, the Del Whitman is the one that fitted me, and he's been doing it for many years. And so he can like look at you and say, all right, get the gun in the right place, and then you pull up, shoot. Like you're staring at the dot on this big piece of steel or whatever. You
Sure.
pull up, shoot at maybe, I don't know, 10 yards or something like that, and you'll see your impact.
Hmm.
It might be bottom right, and then he tweaks on the tri gun a little bit.
Okay. So it's
You
a lot of
pull up
trial and
again,
just
gets a little
adjustments.
closer. Yeah. And it's funny, yeah, because obviously everyone's different. Like the funny thing is Del told me, he's like, well, you have long arms and no neck. And it's like, like, I don't know if I should be offended by
I
that.
don't know. I don't
Right?
know how I would take that.
I know. It's like, I know you're not being mean, but like, I don't know. It just,
He's just saying how it is, I guess.
yeah. So anyways,
Oh
it was a
gosh.
fun experience. And the other cool thing is, like, even if you go and you're not going to build a custom gun,
Yeah.
like to get fitted, and then you can go look up like factory guns,
Yeah.
and a lot of them, like some factory guns
Oh,
will
and you can
fit.
see what's close,
Yep,
maybe.
what's a little
Oh,
bit like,
nice.
for example, like Beretta for me doesn't fit as well as Benelli does. So,
Okay.
um, yeah. So
Everything's gonna be a little bit different, and
exactly.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And last question. This is not an Upland Gun Company episode, but last question. Say someone, because you have to go. Is it up to Minnesota to get fitted, or where do you have to go to?
So that's
What if
kind of
someone's
where
out of state?
it started, but now they're doing gun fittings really all over the country. Dell's been traveling around, and they've got a few more people on board. So I know they've had, they've got a number of fittings in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan,
Okay.
Georgia, um, Texas.
Okay, so they're expanding a little bit.
Yep, yeah, quite a bit now. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and then the other nice thing is, like, if you say, "Hey, I want to get one," and there's, they're like, "Well, where do I get fit?" And you don't have to travel to Minnesota between the Upland Gun Company folks and what Dell is doing. Like, they will find you somebody in your area to
Oh,
fit
right
for
on.
you. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
no, it was a really
Yeah,
cool experience. So
I bet, man. That's awesome. I when I picked up, so I shot a Franke Instinct LX for a
Mhm.
long time, and then when I was going to pick up another gun, so I picked up a Browning Satori last year, and
Nice,
I basically was kind of looking at, like, I was trying to find another over under that had the same specs as the Franke,
sure.
and this White Lightning had pretty much the identical specs to the Franke, and so I was like,
What
perfect.
in
It's
what
very
gauge did
similar.
you end up getting?
I have 20 in both of them.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts comparing the two? What?
So the Browning's a little heavier for sure.
Yep.
And then there's just that thing, like, I shoot the Franke better, and I don't know if it's because of
Yeah.
longevity. I've shot it longer. But the only real difference I can see is weight. The Browning's just a little bit heavier. It's a
Mhm.
nice gun. The wood's a lot nicer, which I like. And so I don't know if
Yeah.
it's more of a mental thing. I just got to get over. But I
Yeah.
definitely shoot the Franke better. But I mean, the White Lightning's been very nice, quality gun. But I gotta shoot it a little bit more.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun because, like, there's certain guns like that you won't be able to see it in the episode, but that
yeah.
camo gun back there is a Browning Gold, and that's a gun I shot for
Okay.
15 years when I did, mostly waterfall stuff, and I put, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of cases through that, and it's like that gun I just shoot really well,
Yeah.
probably just because, right, how
Sure.
it feels, it fits right, your body knows how to
Yeah.
adjust to the stock and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, Ben, super glad to catch up with you again on the podcast, man. Thanks for jumping on here. I know it's been a little while since we've caught up, and it's fun to have you back on, man.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. I always love the conversation. So thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, since it's been a little bit since we've talked, why don't you catch us up a little bit on last season, and we'll move towards the future a little bit. I know
Sure.
you did a lot of hunting last year. You did a couple big trips. Talk about some of the highlights from last season, and we'll kind of go from there. And I think you added a dog this year. Is that
I
correct?
did. I did.
Okay. Okay.
For
Well,
for
I'm sure we'll
punishment.
get into that. So,
Yes, yes, exactly.
yeah, what were some highlights last year, man?
And last year was a great year all around. Like, it just felt like bird numbers across the country were pretty dang stellar. Like, everywhere from the North Woods here, the Great Lakes, down to, I mean, Arizona and desert birds, all the way out to Chucker. People were just talking about it being a banner year, and that's what I really saw outside of kind of that Kansas area, Kansas pheasant
Mhm.
quail deal. That was a little rougher, but otherwise, like, bird numbers they were up, and it made for a great year. I don't know if that's kind of what you saw as well.
Yeah, yeah. Nebraska was a little bit tough last year.
Yeah.
Again, kind of that Nebraska Kansas area.
Mhm.
Again, I heard the same thing about Kansas. That was a kind of a tough year. But again, from what I heard, I didn't make a big trip up north this year or this past season. I'm hoping to this year. But yeah, the grouse here in Colorado were phenomenal. And then yeah, I think it was a good year. And I think this year, with some of the moisture I've been hearing about, some of the moisture that we've gotten even here in Colorado and the surrounding states,
Yeah.
I think it could make for a even better year, possibly.
And with the mountain grouse, I've never actually hunted mountain grouse. And I mean, they're still roughies and blues and
Yeah.
spruce, whatever. But, like, do you see the fluctuations in population, or do they stay pretty consistent?
So I'll be honest with you. I hunted them hard 3 years in a row. And then last year was the first year I kind of figured them out, kind of figured
Okay.
out the elevation because they
Got,
reverse
yep.
migrate. So last year, it was an awesome year for them. I got into them thick. Every time I went out, we had a blast with them. And so it was, again, numbers, what I saw physically were phenomenal. Now, what could I compare that to for mountain grouse?
Right. It's more of a function of you've gotten better. Dogs have gotten
Yeah,
better. You figured it out. Yeah. That makes
exactly.
sense.
Exactly. So we'll see this year. I mean, we'll see if it changes, if it's different.
Yeah.
I had a couple spots I hit last year, kind of rotated between a few. So we'll go back to those spots again and see, okay, are they there? Are they not? I was able to get pretty detailed last year too. I know we'll get into OnX in a little bit here, but
Yeah.
I did a little bit better job of like grouping my, like using folders and things like that for some of the pins. And so I'm not as like scattered with my with my maps.
Yeah.
It was a disaster last year or a couple years ago, man. I had pins galore, just
Yeah.
not organized.
Yeah. And you're going back like, what did I do here? Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. No, wait, that was this. Oh, yeah. And then this one,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I never hunted this one. I don't know why this pin is here.
Or I would just, I would drop pins before and not like no notes, no title, no color, no
Red
icon,
X's
like nothing.
everywhere.
So I was like, crap, why did I put this down there?
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
definitely got better
hear
to
you.
that.
Oh, that's fun.
I know.
But yeah, I mean last year was great. Out on the prairies, the Sharpies were,
Sorry, real quick, was last year the year you spent like a month up north
that
in
was the year
the
before.
year
That
prior?
was
Okay.
2 years ago. Yep.
Okay.
Last year I didn't spend as much time. So I've got a daughter she just turned 1 actually last week.
Oh, heck yeah.
So she was born in end of July. So my trip was cut a little short, just wanting to be around and whatnot.
Sure.
So I think I spent 10 days out there last year.
Okay.
And it was great. Bird numbers were awesome. They had some moisture, so the grass looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no complaints at all.
That's awesome.
So that was always a fun start to the season. I always love that. And then from there, and again, like similar to your point about mountain grouse, I don't know if dogs got better. I know the dogs got better, but hunting grouse up in Minnesota and
Mhm.
Wisconsin, and I shouldn't say that because across the board it was a pretty fantastic year for grouse.
Yeah.
But really, it was fun to see. Amos is 2.5 now, so that was his second season,
Sure.
and it starts to click.
Turn it on. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a fun corner to turn with the dog when it's the first season's behind you and them,
yeah,
and then you get to look forward and go, okay, this is round 2 now.
yeah. And this you can start to see some of that work come together, and um, so that was really fun. I'm excited for this year just because I've seen him. Last year he had his skills had improved, like he understood the game a little bit more, but going now from last season to this season, it's fun to see him, like I can see the mental maturity
Mm.
and the understanding a little bit better. Just even like some of these preseason runs we've been doing, it's like, okay, I think I wouldn't say he's calmed down at all, but he's calmed down a little bit. Like it's not so like
Yeah.
wired, frazzled, like, "Ugh, I
Mm.
just got to go all the time." It's
Yeah,
like, okay,
like you said, mental maturity. Really, it's
yeah,
the dog developing and
yeah,
kind of setting into their, I don't want to call it calm, but kind of their calmness and like, okay, here's the job. I'm gonna go into it a little bit differently.
yeah, yeah. Like, you watch a dog on point and they're just like quivering and shaking and like, oh my God. And they're,
Yeah, not as much, not
not
as
as much
much.
as you. So that's always like reassuring. Before it's like you're sitting
Yeah,
there with the collar, like, okay, if you move, I'm
yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
yeah. So
Exactly. Did you guys make it down south to Arizona for quail at all,
I
or?
did. Yep, I did. I spent a couple weeks down there, and um, actually some time in New Mexico, and
Oh,
then I
nice.
did hop over to Arizona. But um, that was so much fun. I'd never hunted scalies before.
I was gonna say that was probably a new game for you guys, right?
It was, so I'd been down and done the Mearns deal, gambles a little bit, but had never done scalies. And honestly, like everyone else can have the other ones. Like scalies that was so much fun, and we found
Really?
the area that we hunted. It was the right terrain and it was
Mhm.
the right cover.
Okay.
So while they did run, Like they'd mostly hole up within 100 yards of where we first made contact.
Right.
So it wasn't, some areas that we hunted them, it was like the creosote flats where it was just, I mean, it was like a racetrack, right?
Okay.
It's like there's nothing to hold those
They're
birds.
just gone. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's fun. There's a lot of birds down there, but you'd never get them to hold.
Sure.
So when we found those scalies in that, is a giant area that I'm sure the whole thing is filled with them.
Sure.
But that was
Did it,
that was a riot.
did it take Amos a little while to figure them out? Because that was, I mean, again, new species for him.
Yeah, not really, because that I would group them very closely to what pheasants do, but honestly, a little bit better behaved, and obviously a
Hmm.
lot more scent.
Sure.
And he really can't. The other thing with that is like, he's not a very cautious dog. Like he's not a tracking dog. He's a true scent dog. So like
Sure.
he's gonna run hard, stop, and working on like, okay, after you make contact, let's be a little easier. But
Okay.
with the scalies, it's like there's a lot of scent. You don't know. It's same thing with pheasants. Like you don't know when they're gonna stop. Dogs
Sure.
got to learn how far they can push them. But it was nice, really nice to have a dog that's that it will stop to flush. Because a lot of the times, like one or two birds would get up and he'd stop,
Oh.
and then you could get up there, and all of a sudden, then 30 birds get up.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So but I had a blast doing that. The terrain was so cool where you could watch a dog roll 500-600 yards,
Wow.
and yeah, it was pretty unique. So
That sounds awesome.
yes,
That's great,
yes,
man. And then, did you get out for Chucker at all this year, or have you?
did first time
Yeah.
for Chucker.
Nice.
It
Okay.
was a big first time for big first time for a lot of species. So
That's so
uh,
cool.
made a trip out to Oregon and hunted valley quail, Chucker, and mountain quail.
Oh, heck yeah.
And Uh, the chucker, that was by far my favorite.
Really?
Mountain quail. If I never do it again, it was super fun to experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Did they kick?
fight.
Did they kick your butt?
We yeah. I mean, they did. We ended up getting into, I think, like 3 coveys, but they had snowed up in the mountains where we were hunting them, and it
Oh,
was sloppy. And to be honest, like, and I know that you can hunt them in some areas that are different, but where we hunted
sure.
them, it was like big logging country, steep, like think of like West Coast rainforest esque.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so with all the logging, like there is like you were walking on essentially slash.
Oh, wow.
Like you were still under, timber, but they must have like
Sure.
select cut when they were younger. So
Okay.
it was like you'd walk, 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 and then all of a sudden fall up to your knees and
Mm.
down through the branches. And then poor dogs, like it made it hard for dog work. And then the birds, like they naturally would gravitate to roads, right? Because they don't like
Oh,
running
sure.
over. I mean, they spend most of their time walking around, so they'd
Sure.
gravitate to the roads and like the banks where they would cut through roads, so they go get into gravel and seeds and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And the birds, hands down, probably the prettiest quail
Mm.
out there. Like, oh, definitely cooler than Merns
Yeah.
even. But the hunting was like meh. It
Yeah.
was
Just
it was
just not the
okay.
experience that you were.
Yeah, and it
Maybe.
was a hard one for dog work, and
Yeah.
that's for both of us, right? Like
Sure.
that's what I appreciate at least. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Chucker, that was
Yeah.
fun.
Was that?
Oh man, don't do that. Don't do that unless you want
Ju-
to keep doing it.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I I keep hearing that, man. Did you? I mean, be honest here. Did you do any Chucker training for yourself? Did you get yourself fit?
I am, if you've ever seen a picture of me on the internet at 5'9" and like 190 pounds, I am in peak physical condition.
Peak,
Yeah.
peak, Ben.
I mean, these love handles here, I do that not
They
for,
actually help for Chucker hunting.
well, yeah, and it's nice because I do it so I can put my, my final rise vest on my love handles, and it sits there nice.
Just the
So
way Matt designed it.
yeah,
Just the way he
exactly.
designed it.
Yeah, Matt, like soking wet, like 110 pounds and six
Exactly.
three, right?
Just jacked.
Yeah, no. So
Oh,
the thing is at that point I had probably already been hunting for 60 days at that point. So, um, I'd walked enough where, I was in
You're
decent shape,
decent.
but
Yeah.
I did not do any mountain training.
Okay.
And the spots we hunted, actually, it was kind of nice. I mean, I got the true chucker experience, but not like the Hell's Canyon where you're just getting your butt whooped. We had a one spot that we spent a day on that you actually started on the top,
Okay.
and that's what I'm about. Starting on the top is excellent.
And work your way down, right? Or just
Yeah,
along the
or just
top.
side hill. You just side hill at the top. So that was nice. And then
Oh,
we did one day where it it was, it wasn't, I mean, by chucker standards, like people
sure.
would laugh at me, but yeah, we hiked up through this big canyon, and then when we got to it, it was this kind of big flat on top, and
Okay.
but after 3 days of chasing them, like my heels hurt, like
Oh,
I
sure.
was sore. I was sore. Like I was like, oh man, I could do maybe one more day in a row.
And then your body's feeling it.
Yeah, and I'm sure all the Westies are laughing at me, but like, yeah, it was.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, not bad for a Midwesterner, man.
Yeah, no,
Not bad.
it wasn't. It was super fun. So I'm gonna go. I don't know where I'm gonna go this year, but I will chucker hunt somewhere this year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you find it tough last year? So I know you just had Amos. I know you have the two other bearded dogs.
Yep.
But do you typically waterfowl with them? So did you have enough dog power? Were you using a lot of friends' dogs? How'd that work for you?
So yeah, so I have Herb, he's a 6-year-old Draghar, 6 or 7, and he's a stud. Like he's not a big ranging dog, but like he's a dog I could bring almost anywhere and do anything with. So actually, I hunted him for a lot of the mountain quail and valley quail
Okay.
stuff, because that valley quail, you're finding them in creek beds, and almost
Sure.
more of akin to like some Bob White stuff, a lot tighter, thicker
Okay.
cover. So I hunted him a lot of that, and then and he did great. The chucker stuff, I ran Amos most of the time just because it was just so fun to see him
Oh, and that's where
just
he thrives, I'm
roll.
sure.
Yeah, I was afraid he was too dumb though, and he was gonna like jump off a cliff, like because he's pretty dumb,
Well,
which is the
there's
way I
always a
like him.
risk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a little dumb.
Well, I was afraid because like I'd say last year he was like 75% broke, and I was afraid he was just gonna go with a covey off a
Mm.
cliff, but he's still here.
He figured it out. He figured it
Yeah,
out.
but yeah, I for some of those trips, we hunted with buddies. Like I hunted with Nate Akey out in
Yeah.
Oregon, and so he had two dogs or he had his Tika dog that was just had figured out the game, like super
Yeah.
dialed. He had a young pup at the time, Maisie, who along for the ride, just
Sure.
soaking it all up. But yeah, I mean, if I would, because I think at that point we had hunted, because I had hunted like 10 days in Montana before that, and by the end of the trip, like everyone was tired, everyone
Mm.
was ready to take a little break, but
I'm sure.
um yeah, and then in New Mexico and Arizona, I'd actually brought down my friend George Lyle, his 4 dogs as well. So,
Okay.
and then we met up with like Katie Willis, and she had a whole pack of wild hares, as she calls them. And so we had plenty of dog power there.
That's
But
good. You need that.
yes, so, but it's, after doing having the whole pointer versus versatile thing, like, yeah, for like, I would run Amos into the ground like in chucker hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, and he'll take it. I mean, but he'd be running 35 miles a day,
Yeah.
which that's not super sustainable for,
I mean, yeah, multi day hunt like that.
yeah, yeah. And so like in the grouse woods and even like out on the prairie, like that's a lot easier running.
Sure.
So yeah, like it'd be nice to have a couple like true pointing dogs
Sure.
to rotate, but otherwise, yeah, like um it wasn't a bad year on dog power. So
Sure. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome, man. What's kind of one big takeaway if you had to kind of sum up last season for yourself? And when I say takeaway, what's something maybe you learned last year that you go, you know what, that made me a better hunter, that made me understand dogs differently, better, whatever it might be. What's kind of maybe your one takeaway from last year?
um well, that's a good question. I've got a couple. The first is that we touched on it briefly, like the transitioning, figuring out species kind of thing. If I've put in a ton of work, especially with Amos, and the ability for dogs to learn and adapt to different species, like, and people talk about it like, oh, that was a hard transition, and I didn't see it as much with him. Like it was like Chucker was one thing that took a little bit to figure out because they were a little spooky, but otherwise it's like, if you put in the work, you put in the effort, especially like working on a lot of stop to flush and steadiness, like they figure it out really fast. And that was like, okay, this was pretty cool. And then the other thing, and this is something that every year I just like keep stumbling upon, but it's like just going out and doing new things and experiencing new places with different people. Like, it was so much fun because everyone hunts a little bit different, and some people, you jive with a little bit better, but
Sure.
just going out and trying it and doing it. And I shouldn't say I was stuck in a rut, but like I'd go do the same thing, Minnesota grouse, pheasants. I'd go out to the prairies and hunt Sharpies and rinse, wash, repeat. But to go out and just say, hell with it. Like, we're just going to go and do it and figure it out. And that was, I don't know, it was super rewarding, and you get to see a lot of places across the country that, no one would ever choose to go to. And that was, I don't know, it's not like you're going to New Orleans or New York or Chicago, right? It's
Sure.
like, I don't know, it's these little American towns that, I don't know, for bird hunters, I think that's what,
Well, that's our paradise. I mean,
exactly, that's the appeal.
that's a weird part is, my wife's, she's not a city girl. I would call her like a suburban girl.
Sure.
She loves the, suburbia life, and that's kind of where we live and our lifestyle and all that. But I mean, to her, like going into a nice new suburb, like that's kind of her thing. But like for me and you and bird hunters out there, when we go into this little rinky-dink town, it's, whatever, looks like nothing to some people, but then we see the land and the country, and that's the beauty that I think that we find that some people don't understand, and they might not ever understand.
Yeah, because there's a few towns I stayed in New Mexico where driving through, people would look at it and be like, I am not stopping there to get gas,
Yeah.
much less going to stay there.
Right.
And I showed up, and it was like, oh, this is a little sketchy for me. But then you spend a few days there,
Yeah.
and it grows on you. It's like, oh man, I love this town. I can't wait.
I can dig this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find that good little, like, Mexican restaurant or a little sandwich shop or something, little diner there, and it's like I could get used to this.
Yeah, I was there with a guy who I run dogs with, and like he was a staunch like American food guy. I was like, Bert, I'm sorry, we're not gonna sit and eat at these shitty truck stop restaurants. Like we are like within spitting distance of Mexico. Like, I am sorry, you're gonna have to deal with it, or we
Here's
can
what
eat
we're
separately,
doing.
right?
That's too funny. Last point I wanted to kind of touch on of what you mentioned, because you mentioned earlier about mountain quail or valley quail, mountain quail.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, yeah, I could kind of, I'd be okay if I didn't hunt them again. I think you'll never know if you didn't try that. Right? You'd never know that. Hey, I tried it. It was fun. Still, it was a new experience. Yep. But I think a lot of people, again, there are people who are able to hunt all the different upland, birds. I think they all have ideals of like, oh, I gotta hit that one, gotta hit that one. You don't know until you try it, right? Like, you don't know that you're gonna love it or hate it until you actually try it. And that's
100%.
Pheasant, chucker, and people might have these ideals of, oh, I gotta hunt chucker, it's gonna be the best thing ever, and they might do it and be like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a really good point, because going into it, I was like, I'll go chucker hunt. That sounds fun. Like, whatever. Take it. That's like probably the one thing I was like, take it.
Probably not going to do it again, even, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it turns out that was my favorite. So
yeah, that's cool. It's cool perspective. All right, new pup. What'd you pick up here, man?
Yeah, so apparently I just collect all sorts of breeds. draughts, pointers, whatever. So running all the cover dog circuit up here and up in the North Woods, I had to get a setter.
All
So
right.
yep,
I knew it was coming. I knew it was
yeah,
coming.
you know, and like because I could have easily got another pointer because I've had nothing but great experiences
Yeah.
with Amos, but I don't know. There's something like that quintessential Northwoods setter. Like, and to be honest, like I mean, I've watched some really damn good setters, but it's like I don't know if he's gonna do it any better than a pointer. But
Sure.
I don't know. It's just something different, right? Something new to experience and try. So yeah, I got a field bred setter. It's out of a buddy of mine. His bitch, and then the sire is Ponderosa Mac, who is a pretty well renowned, probably one of the most well renowned field trial cover dog setters.
Right on.
So another friend of mine had got I guess it would essentially be the same bitch, and then the one generation up. So it was a Jetwood dog, Jetwood to Sky,
Okay.
and that dog was phenomenal. The dog's name's Easy, and it won when it was a derby. It won or got damn close to winning about every trial it got entered in. And I think it just took a shooting dog placement this summer, and then so that dog died like early. They didn't pull any straws, but then that dog sired Mac.
Okay.
So essentially, Fred is my setter's name. And so Fred is one generation down, and yeah, like he's 4 months old, I think.
Okay. Oh, young still. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's still really young, and yeah, it's at this stage it's hard to tell, but just going out and doing the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Just bring them along. Let them kind of tag along with the pack and you and
Yeah,
traveling and all that stuff.
and the nice thing is he's going to get exposure. Like that's my biggest thing is
Yeah.
just to get him out there and do
Mhm.
it, and they'll figure it out. Like you can
Sure.
always train, but you can't train the exposure and bird contact. So
Mhm.
that's kind of my goal for the first year, and that was with all dogs is just get them a ton of contacts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, yeah, all the bird context too, but even again, when they're this young, of the exposure of traveling in a truck and
Hmm.
stopping at rest stops and, whatever. It's kind of the little stuff that, you think it's like, they'll figure it out, but it's exposing them to that early where they're, comfortable traveling on the road and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, and
it's a fun time.
that's it's like, oh, I focus on exposure. That's maybe just what I tell myself because I'm just maybe not a good puppy trainer, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are doing
that's
stuff
that's
with
the
their
easy
puppies,
route. Yeah.
right? But that's something maybe how I justify it to myself.
Hmm.
But with 5 dogs and a kid, and the game, you got like kids,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
that's like, oh yeah, we're just working on exposure. Like we can train the
Totally.
rest
Totally.
later.
You sound like you know what you're talking about then.
Yeah, it's more so probably like I just don't have
It's a
time
feel
to.
good. It's a feel good,
Yeah,
man. We'll
exactly.
call it what it is. I get it. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
I am there with you. So it sounds like you, again, I know I think last time we talked quite a bit about, getting into some of the trial stuff you've been
Hmm.
doing with Amos.
Yep.
It sounds like you're putting a lot of stake on that kind of dog that you're looking for, right? You're looking
Yep.
really kind of deep into the pedigree on some of the cover dog stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because the cover dog it's pretty niche. Obviously, it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then the Northeast for the most part.
Sure.
So a lot of these dogs they don't get the notoriety of like the field trial, horseback type
Hmm.
pedigrees. So, but honestly, it's like we get to watch some of the best grouse dogs
Hmm.
in the country right here in our region. So it's a little bit of a hidden gem, honestly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because the cover dog, I don't know too much about it. Is it a subset of AKC field trials? But
Nope. So it
it's
is sanctioned by UKC now, which so it
oh,
was
okay.
it was when it was American
American
Field,
field.
and they UKC bought American Field. So,
Okay.
but yeah, that's all sanctioned through American Field still. So
Very cool.
similar to AKC, but
Yeah.
definitely some differences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
And it looks like Amos had a pretty good year last year, man. Looks
yeah.
like that was for jumping into that for the first time for you, for him. Looks like you guys had had a little bit of fun.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic, and so I started running him derby when it would have been his first fall, so he would only been like 7 months old. So I actually got a jump on his derby, so he got to run fall spring.
If you're new to upland hunting, or if you've been doing it a long time and looking for something to extend your season, or just connect with those in the upland hunting community more, maybe find a mentor, meet some other people with bird dogs and the same common goals and desires as you, then look no further than NSTRA. National Shoot to Retrieve Association. NSTRA is an incredible community running field trials for dogs and bird hunters just like you. It's an incredible environment where you're going to meet some great folks who have the same passion as you do. Become a member today at NSTRA.org.
For a derby, which is awesome experience for me,
Sure.
just to learn about the format and just become a better handler, more confident. So yeah, he did really well in the cover dog stuff. But what was fun is I actually ran him in a couple, I guess 3 different style trials: the cover dog stuff, and then NBHA, which is a walking trial. But it
Sure.
is, I would say it's more of akin to like that horseback. They're looking for a bigger running dog. A lot of the times it's
Okay.
on planted birds, which is what it is.
Sure.
So I ran that down in Wisconsin actually, and we just went down there. We had a terrible, terrible, terrible spring, just in terms of snow. Like we didn't get rid of snow until our first. Well, we only had one spring trial this year because
Oh, dang.
between snow and
Just all got canceled. Yeah.
yeah. So we ran that, and it was funny. It was on planted birds, and it's like, oh, he'll find planted birds or whatever. And there's not much, emphasis put on steadiness, or none really for
Yeah.
for derbies, but did not find one
Oh,
planted
dang.
quail. But of course, you can take the cover dog out of the cover, and he goes and finds had a broke woodcock find
Oh.
at this planted quail trial. So we got a lot of hell about that. Like, of course, you cover dog guys come down here and you find woodcock. So
That's great.
so he had a great run, and he actually won that one. So that was cool.
Oh, fun.
And then we went out later in the year, went out to North Dakota and ran. It's called the Northwest Field Association. So it's all horseback stuff. They did have a walking stake this year, so I got to run them on horseback this year.
Oh, fun.
And that was awesome. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was hot and nasty. I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, because horseback, it's like pretty much take the dial and turn it up to 10 because,
Sure.
You could have a big running dog on foot, but then all of a sudden now you're traveling, you're walking at 2-3 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden now the pace is 7
You're
miles an hour.
accelerated, right?
So it's like to have a big running horseback dog is a whole different ballgame. Like they just have to be on the next level. So that was really fun. That was a blast.
That's awesome.
So
do you guys do much horseback exposure prior to that, getting ready for that trial? Or
not a whole lot. Like he had been around horses a few times just in training, but I never handled them off horseback.
Sure.
So I didn't know what to expect, but I dropped him and she was all business. So
Yeah.
I was like, heck yeah. And
Right.
he got third in the horseback, and we did a walking stake and he got second. So it was a great weekend.
Dang, that's awesome. Yeah. What an experience to try out with him and have a little success. And
yeah. And again, a different subset of people. It attracts a lot of our, the Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin horseback guys, which there aren't a ton of them, but just to get a hang around them and their experiences and to learn from them, because it's a completely different game than it is in the woods.
Yeah. So it's such a different style, everything.
Yeah.
You were able to break out Amos pretty early, right? Pretty young, and is he pretty? I mean, steady the wing shot fall release, or what do you got him to right now?
Yeah. So like first off, like he was, when we were out west when he was 6 months old. Like I didn't have a great handle on him. He's obviously a big running dog, and I remember I dropped him the first time in Montana, and and pointed a group of pheasants and a little brood of pheasants, and I walked in, flushed them, and he went with that bird for a mile. Like he went with the birds for a while, and then he just boom, just hunting. And so I had to turn around, go back to the truck, drive around the section, and pick him up. And he's like, "Hey, dude, what you been doing? Like, where you at? Like,
where are we going?
We weren't in the truck. Like, what the heck? We were walking." And so I quickly realized, like, okay, I need to put a brake on you. Just so while I was in Montana, I took him through the wool post and all that stuff. So just so I could stop him, put a flank collar on him and stop him. So, and pointers, like they mature faster. So at 7 months old, like he had plenty of exposure. He could take the pressure, like mentally stable. He had matured faster. So, so that first season I worked on getting him steady, or essentially like stop to flush, or so he not broke the first season. Last year, worked on a lot of steadiness, and so I had him. I mean, I would call it like 95% broke. Less the situations where, like the weird situations where you see some of these fully broke dogs and they just stand there like, okay, I know this game, like birds are walking in front of me, whatever. Like one just hopped up and flew 10 feet and landed and it's just walking around like stupid. So like he was not broke to that point. But,
but pretty darn close.
Pretty close. So, and then we took a step back this spring when I ran those planted bird trials. Honestly, like he took probably 2 steps back, just because they're planted birds, right? They go fly 20 yards, and he realized like, oh, I could probably catch some of these.
He's like, I think I can. Yeah. So, it gets them thinking a little bit where it's like, I think I can. I think I'm going to try it.
Yeah. And then they're so tempting, right? They're walking in front of them. So, we had our last we had a summer trial that's just for fun here and on planted birds, and did great. And then all of a sudden bird kind of popcorn flushed and it was on a back even. So he went in and took out the bird, and that was just a bad deal. So I vowed like, okay, no more planted birds. But now I took him out actually this morning and met up with a buddy of mine, and we ran on wild pheasants, and that's where I kind of, when I bringing back like the mental maturity, like gave it some time, came back, went out, flushed the birds, like 8-10 birds got up, and he just stood there and it was just looking cool. I was like, oh man, shot a couple times. It's like, oh, okay, this is that mental maturity. That's people trying to break dogs early, and I was probably guilty of pushing a little bit too hard. Well, I shouldn't say pushing too hard, but wanting a young broke, a derby, and that's, everyone's like, you don't worry about it. And now I'm seeing what they're meaning, because now it's, and maybe all that effort going into it helped, but now I can just see that little bit of a turn in attitude where it's like, okay, like you get it. This is going to be a lot easier. So, now this year when I'm out west and then up in Canada, I'll have ample time where I'm gonna keep him broke. To try to keep him broke through
through the hunting, through it all.
Yep, exactly. And that's one tip for people out there is like keeping a dog broke while hunting yourself. That's like either you're hunting or you're dog training.
I was gonna say you got to put the gun away at that point if your goal is to keep the dog broke.
Yes,
like that's got to be hard.
It is. It's super hard. So like, and I'm gonna try it where you just have to find. For me, at least, what I found is like you have to find people that are on the same page. Where it's like, my dog goes on point, then you go in there, shoot. I'm gonna run dogs, and it's easier said than done. I said that same thing last year, and then the first covey of Sharpies got up. I was like, this is I gotta shoot.
Totally, so, you have that instinct in you. I did the same thing with I think it was Gage last or 2 years ago, going into that. Yeah, so maybe even 3 years ago, getting
Yeah.
him broke all through summers, doing awesome. And I told myself, I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep him broke during hunting. We went out for opening sharptail, and it's tempting, man. It's hard to,
Yeah.
you say that, and you know all the work you put in, what
Yeah.
the time it took and all that, but it's hard.
At the end of the day, we're hunters, right? Like we were doing
Sure.
a hunt, but yeah, you kind of have to just put that aside. So I said it last year, but this year I think I mean it. I think I mean it.
We're going to hold you to it, man. We're going to hold you to
Well,
it.
now he's like I say now for trial wise, he's running shooting dogs, so it is a broke dog stake. So it's like okay, I need to do it.
Hmm.
Last year I didn't need to do it, but this year
Sure.
like
Now
I
it's
want to if I
more
want to be
accountability.
successful and I don't want to screw up other people and have my dog ripping birds or doing
Sure.
whatever in front of them. It's like I need to do this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So knowing this with Amos and all that, will that change you at all with Fred, the setter? Are
Yes.
you going to back off a little bit, take a longer approach, or?
Yes. So the other thing, and this is again anecdotal, what I've just been told, and I've seen it in a lot of cases, like pointers come out of the box almost ready to go. Like they mature super fast. You're gonna be killing birds like 6, 7 months old, no problem. But
Sure.
the setters, they take a little bit longer to mature.
Hmm.
So where a pointer might
So
get
knowing that, you're going to, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, where a pointer will be at a year, it might take a setter 3 years to get there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
and I don't think he's gonna have the run that Amos did. So I don't think like come September, I'm not gonna have to put brakes on him or anything.
Sure.
Like I
Just
think
different dogs,
yep.
different breeds, different styles, and
So that's the fun part though, is like just to get out and experience that. And
yeah.
maybe, my wife said that if I get another dog, she'll kill me or divorce me or both. I guess if you kill me, you don't need to divorce me. So
Yeah.
it might be another 10 years before I get another one, but yeah, like I might
5 years. 5 years.
don't she might hear that.
Why do you think I came into the office today?
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, I might go back to pointers. But anyways, like it's just
Yeah.
variety is the spice of life. Just want to
Yeah, I was gonna say you
try
do
it.
like variety in your dog
Yeah,
choice. So
yeah,
what better way to experience different breeds and breedings and all that stuff. So
it's fun. I really
that's
enjoy it. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Hey, how's before we get into a little bit of OnX stuff as we kind of bring this thing home? How's it been? Again, there's that dynamic being a new dad, bird dog handler,
Mhm.
hunter, all that stuff. How's that transition been for you?
Oh, it was good. So like it was a nice thing because my wife like last fall she was on maternity leave all through the fall, so like she was home, so that really helped. But now
Sure,
her going back to work and and just to be honest, like the first 6 months of a baby's life, like there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, you can be there to support, but like they're just
sure.
they don't do a whole lot, right? But
Yeah,
now like
yep,
as she's developed a personality and it's just fun to be around. Like I don't want to miss much now.
sure.
So like that's hard. Just like that mental strain of
Hmm,
like I've got all these dogs. I love to hunt, but then like man, like I've got a kid now, and like I want to be
sure.
around and be present.
Totally. And there's
Um,
that pull. It's that
for
pull and
sure.
tension and
And and it was probably arrogant or just naive to say like, oh, like I'll hunt just as much. Like it's fine,
sure.
like head down, but yeah, it grows on you. But
Uh,
the other thing is time, man. Like, and you probably know this better than anyone. Like just how you spend your time, right? Like you got to be much more purposeful.
yeah.
And it ebbs and flows for me, like sitting and doom scrolling on your phone or sitting and
Mhm.
watching TV. It's like you got to make up time somewhere. Whether
Somewhere, yeah.
right, it's like you, you get it's opportunity cost. Like, well, if I'm
Mhm.
doing this, I can't be doing this.
Sure.
So just being much more purposeful in how I'm choosing to spend my time, and it's not something I've got even close to perfecting at
Sure,
all.
sure.
But it's something I'm like, okay,
Conscious of it, at
yep,
least
and
now. It's the
it's like
first step.
I have
Yeah.
to try it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it is a mental shift. It's like your brain starts thinking differently about just exactly what you're talking about. Okay, how
yeah,
do I spend my time? Even what do I invest more in? What do I invest less in? And
yeah, well, yeah. It's
all
like
those
even like
things.
now, like even through the summer, it's been so hot. It's like, oh, I don't want to go run dogs at night. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna sit on the couch and flip on a TV show. But it's like,
Yeah,
well, by doing that, you you're robbing yourself of this, and this, and
Sure.
just trying to just make good habits and
Sure.
make time for it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely been a learning curve and a transition. So
Yeah, absolutely, man.
yeah,
It'll be yeah. From my experience with some older kids and all that, it's
yeah.
I'm continuing to learn the same things about just where to invest, how to spend time, and then you throw in, as they get even older with sports and activities and all that kind of stuff.
Oh
It's
man.
that's where things get tough now, and there's days of like, all right, I'm looking at my dogs, looking at my kids, looking at the calendar. I'm like, crap, what do
Yeah.
I do?
Well, that's what everyone
It's
says. It's
tough,
like, oh, dude, this is the easy part. Just wait until sports
right?
and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So it's like, yep.
yeah. Yep, it's tough, but it's fun, man. It's a fun life. It's
Yeah.
fun
Oh yeah.
chasing dogs, chasing kids, all that good stuff.
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
Well, dude, how have things at OnX been? What's new? What's exciting? Let's dive into that a little bit.
oh man, things are rocking and rolling. Like we are right now. We're like in terms of innovation and making cool things, new things. Like right now, I think Onyx is more poised than we've been in the last 5 years to
Mm,
really shake it up and really make some new innovative
mm,
additions to the app. I mean, really outside of private and public, like now we're doing some things where it's like, oh, this is
mm.
getting really exciting. So
That's
lots of
fantastic.
fun things coming out on the horizon.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to dive in definitely a little bit deeper here in a sec. For anyone new, this podcast has been growing, a little bit over the last couple of years. And that, can you give a kind of a 50,000 foot view? If someone's like, "What the hell are you talking about right
Yeah.
now? What's OnX?" Can you
Yeah.
give a kind of a quick overview? What is it, and how would it benefit someone?
Sure, man. So first off, I'll get your attention. Like there, if there is one thing in your toolbox, I mean, literally guns, dogs, any other piece of equipment that is going to make you a more successful bird hunter, it is going to be OnX. It's a GPS mapping based app,
Hmm.
which shows you not only private and public lands, there's a ton of layers, timber cuts, crop layers, burns, old wildfires. Like there's an endless amount of layers.
Hmm.
And by utilizing all those things along with private and public, while one thing might not be powerful by itself, when you start to combine all these other
Hmm.
things, it will help you find more birds. If you come to me and you say this isn't helping me find more birds,
Hmm.
then I'm going to say you're using it wrong. Let me show you how to do it, because it just astounds me. Like it gives me the confidence to go out and go to a new state and just say, I can go do this by myself.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago, think about it, like, and I've said this before, but it's even 15, whatever, 20 years ago, the only time you did really new things is if, let's just say, like, I want to go to North Dakota duck hunting for the first time. You either had to know somebody that
Hmm.
was out there, you had to go with somebody that had done it before, or knew somebody that lived out there, really, to like go out and do it the first time, because it was a huge learning curve. And now with OnX, and you know where you can hunt, you know where you can't hunt, and it can make you super dangerous in the fact
Hmm.
that, like, you can take these big trips, and I reasonably expect to get into game
Yeah.
by using it. So,
Yeah. And anyone can do it. You can be
right?
brand new. You could have experience, no experience, whatever it might be. That's one of the big things I hear from new hunters. A lot of, I was in the same category starting out. That was my biggest hurdle. Like, where do I go? Where,
Mm-hmm.
where do I even, if I'm going to invest the time, the money, the resources, all that stuff into going out and hunt, I wanted to give myself a good chance. I'm like, do I just blindly pick? But once you get into this OnX, it literally opens up a world of its own to say, oh,
Yeah.
I can target this. I can learn more about this.
Well, and the nice thing too is, like, you couple that with all of the resources available on the internet, like to learn
Sure.
about habitat and where to find these birds and how to hunt them. Yeah, again, it just makes you a wildly dangerous, in a good way, like hunter.
Sure.
Like you can feel super confident going out and doing it. So,
Yeah.
and then there's a tremendous amount of resources, whether it's like your podcast or all the things up on YouTube.
Sure.
you can couple that with using OnX, and there's a bunch of resources on how to use OnX. Yeah, and go out and do it, whether it's ptarmigan in Alaska, or quail in California, or heck, even pheasants in your backyard.
Sure.
It will help you get into more birds.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, was the 3D mapping was that fairly new in the last maybe year or so, or?
Yes. So 3D, I think, was, gosh, and I have like terrible yardsticks in terms of time, but I think it was it's a year old maybe on iOS. And
Okay.
actually, the cool thing is now on iOS, Android always had it, but it's really true 3D right now. So it's, before you would tilt the map and you couldn't get that, like it would limit you
Mm,
now. So it's true 3D, where you're like, you can get down and really experience it like you would on the web map on
wow.
our browser based app. As well as some cool things like we'll have, I don't know if it's released or it will release, but essentially like elevation exaggeration. So
Mm,
a lot of the places we hunt, while in person they look like there's definitely terrain to it, right? You
sure.
look at a 3D map and you're like, yeah, I mean, this doesn't look right. Like
Huh.
it looked way steeper in person. Like
Mm,
it's not mountain steep, but now you can use, there's a little slide. You'll be able to use a little slider
oh.
and essentially exaggerate that elevation change, so you can make it look like real life,
Oh wow.
or be able to like pick apart nuances, right? Like I want to find a low spot in this field, like that might be a
Yeah.
thicker grass, a drainage. Boom, I can exaggerate that elevation and really pinpoint, okay, here's that low draw that I want to hunt
Wow.
through, say for pheasants or whatnot.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How do you think? Yeah, I was you kind of answered a little bit, but yeah, how do you think someone as a bird hunter can kind of use this 3D feature to benefit them and to discover more areas?
Yeah. So one thing that sticks out in my mind right away is, it was a couple falls ago. We were hunting pheasants in Minnesota, and it was windy. It was a super windy day. Uh, and in Minnesota, there's definitely terrain changes, but
Hmm.
it's very, very, like, compared to mountains, or compared to,
Sure.
right, it's very gradual. So like we were trying to find these sloughs that were tucked away. I think we had a north wind, so we were trying to find these sloughs that were kind of tucked away out of the wind. So I went on there in 3D, cranked up the exaggeration, and we went
Mm.
and just marked all these little sloughs, not
Oh
big ones,
wow.
little sloughs that were kind of out protected out of the wind. um, and the day before, we got into birds, but we didn't shoot a pheasant.
Mm.
And compare that to the next day, and I think we were done
Sure.
by noon.
Dang.
So just those little nuances, as well as like, let's just take, if you're a prairie chicken or a prairie grouse hunter, um, really being able to plan out your hunt, right? Like, okay, I'm going to start today on these hilltops, and I can visualize what that looks like. And a lot of these times I'd kind of plan my route. I'd put waypoints on, whether it's patches of buffalo berry, snowberry, or chokecherry, whatever. I'd go mark these spots and be like, okay, I'm going to start up on tops of the hills in the morning when there's dew. And
Sure.
then, on my return trip, I'm going to come down through the valleys, right? So I can, you know, with like contour lines, 2D, right? Uh, Even that gets a little trickier when it gets flat. So it's
Mm.
nice to be able to turn that into 3D and really
Sure.
visualize what that hunt is going to look like
Yeah.
before
What
you
it what
go.
it looks like.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another new feature. I think again, your timeline may be off year ish. So I'm not sure how long this has been out, but the connection to Apple CarPlay
Oh
now
yeah.
that has been flipping sweet. Oh
Yes.
my gosh,
Yes.
that's just been a very seamless. Again, anyone knows Apple CarPlay that integration just is smooth already.
Hmm.
Well, then you throw in a feature like OnX Hunt. How's that feedback been? How's that process been? What have you been seeing with that?
It's been fantastic. And people have been asking for it, but it's one of those things. So before, I had a vehicle with CarPlay. It's like, I don't need this. Like, this just seems like an extra bell or whistle that, like,
Yeah.
it'd be cool to have, but
Sure.
not necessary. And let's just say I just got a new truck this summer, as did you, right?
Yeah, I got one a
Yeah,
couple weeks ago. Yeah.
yeah. So it was like 100%. like without a doubt will have CarPlay.
Sure.
It's hard to live without now.
Right.
That's obviously like some first world problems, but
Exactly.
um, but yeah, I mean, it's so nice. Not to mention, I mean, you have a bigger screen as you're
Hmm.
driving. Like I can't tell you how many times like you're driving, all of a sudden, oh, that looks good. You pull out your phone and
Yeah.
driving with your knees and looking.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, oh, this isn't safe.
We've all been
Yeah.
there.
So it's just nice
And
to
you can
have.
interact with it. I mean, you can move around on the map and see all your pins, and that's been, again, on these cars. If anyone's looking at a newer ish car, they're making the screens bigger and bigger and bigger,
Right.
which is awesome. And so essentially, you can be out in the cornfield and have this decent sized screen that you can interact with. And
Yeah, especially if you have a buddy in the car, right? And instead of like leaning over and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," like
yeah,
here, can you see this? Now you can just play right on the dash. So,
yeah,
um,
everyone can see it.
yeah,
Which I
it's
don't know. I
great.
mean, having a buddy, if you don't want to have to see all your spots,
Yeah, that's
how
true.
much you trust this buddy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Put blinders on them.
Yeah, get one of those anti-glare mats or
Yeah, exactly.
anti-privacy.
So nobody can see it. Then you got everyone's
Exactly.
everyone's leaning over here into the center console to look at it. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. I have noticed. This is maybe it's my phone, maybe it's OnX.
yeah,
Have you guys sped up the platform a little bit just on responsiveness and speed? Because I've noticed it's progressively
yes.
getting quicker to load, to drop pins, move pins, things like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, our team is always, working on just getting those incremental gains, right? And at some point, it's like, learning a skill. You
Sure.
start out and you make a lot of progress, and then all of a sudden you get good at it, and then progress becomes tougher and it's
Mhm.
harder just to incrementally gain. So yeah, we're at the point where it's pretty dang fast, but we're always working on just improving speed. And then what we call it, the boring basics, right? Just making it more intuitive, making the little things count, just to create a overall better experience.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Anything you can kind of tease our listeners with? Anything new that you guys are working on
Yeah.
you're able to talk about? Or
Yeah. So one of the cool things that I'm really looking forward to is some of our updates in aerial, our
Hmm,
aerial map. So we've got some really neat stuff. One thing is uh, essentially like recent imagery. So now what you're going to be able to do is, a lot of the satellite imagery is maybe year 2 3 years
hmm,
old even, um, and which a lot of things can change in 3 years, right?
sure.
So we've got this new feature where now essentially it's lower res imagery than like say our regular aerial map, but
Okay.
essentially you can view anywhere in the country within the last 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's definitely lower res, but it was super nice. Even this spring, like I could watch the snow line, I could watch
Wow. That's
which
cool.
lakes were frozen, which lakes weren't. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to start seeing like when fields get harvested.
Yeah.
Not and it's like 2 weeks.
Sure, but that's
Yeah.
a pretty good. I mean, again, some because you're saying the other alternative is could be a year, could be 2 years.
Yes. And again, it's lower, so you can't zoom in as far and like see houses, but like I've noticed you and Tyler Webster actually brought this up is like looking at canola fields. Like now I
Hmm,
can tell like, oh, this is planted canola. You get the big yellow blooms. I'll probably be able to tell when fields get harvested. So
wow, that's cool.
as well as like timber cuts, right? Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden if I'm going to hunt a new area for grouse and oh shoot, they log this in August and the data isn't in the timber cut layer, right?
Sure.
So tons of different use cases. Uh, so I'm
That's
excited to
exciting, man.
really play around with that this fall.
Yeah, that'll be a nice little addition to
Yes.
the old Onyx.
Oh yes, yes,
Well, that's
yes. So
exciting, man.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's great, man. Well, Ben, this has been fun, man.
yeah,
It's always good catching up with you, just hearing about dogs, life, hunts. I think we're in that early August here right now,
yeah.
as we're all, I think, preparing and looking for that September 1st. date. So it's always fun to get excited and catch up.
100%, man. Yeah, I always love chatting. Again, thanks for having me on. What before we wrap it up, what hunt are you looking forward to the most this year?
So getting back up north to North Dakota, Montana.
Nice.
That is, I'm still trying to pick a date on the calendar. Again, like we talked about family and all that kind of stuff. Just trying to. We got between boys hockey. Started a new job a couple months ago, and so cool. just those balancing factors right now. Just trying to pick a date on the calendar that's going to work for our family schedule and all that stuff. And so we got hockey tryouts, training camp, all that for the boys in September. And so just trying to, I think it's gonna be late September, probably, most realistically. So that's my, great just to get some extended time up there. And awesome. Wasn't able to get up last year, and I definitely missed that. I missed being up there. So it was good. And I got some great friends up there, and excited to see them again and share a field.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, man. Well, cool, Ben. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a blast, and I'm sure we'll be catching up again soon. And have a great fall, man. Have a great time with the dogs and exploring new areas.
I sure appreciate it, Will.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Talk to you.
Well, that's a wrap of episode 91 with Ben Brettingen from OnX Hunt. Ben, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule. I know we're all preparing for the fall season. It's chatting bird dogs, catching up on life, hunting, plans, recapping last season, all that good stuff. I really appreciate your time chatting with us today. Hey, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review, and it's really going to help the show get out there to more hunters, more dog lovers just like you who are passionate about upland game, conservation, bird dogs, training, trialing, all the good stuff that listeners of this podcast enjoy. It's really just going to help get out there to more and more people. I really appreciate that. You can also head over to Spotify if that's where you listen and leave a rating over there. Also, share this episode with a friend. Share it on your social media. Click that share button, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. And what did you learn? What's something you took away from the episode that you think would be helpful to someone else, maybe who's just getting started in upland hunting, maybe needs some encouragement, needs to learn more about OnX, whatever it might be. Would you share this episode or any episode that you have found helpful on social media? Tag the Upland Rookie Podcast. Always love seeing those out there. Share the show and what the show has meant to you. Hey guys, until next time, go put some miles on those boots and follow your favorite bird dog. Take care.